Hey everybody, I'm Robert. I'd like to welcome you to the channel and welcome down here to Stahlus. Stahlus is who builds all of the cages for our track cars, race cars, etc. They do an absolutely fantastic job, and they're now working on our Yaris. You've probably seen on Misha's channel that we were going to go ahead and put suspension on, do a cage and all these different things. And we really wanted to do a club sport cage so that the car still had, I would say, the street feeling to it, but you could also take it on track with harnesses and things like that. And as a rental car on the Nürburgring, the big reason that we wanted to go with a club sport is because unfortunately when people get into a race car on the Nürburgring during tourist drives, they think that they're a race driver. They put a helmet on, they put harnesses on, they've got interior stripped out, carbon fiber door cards, and they literally take it too hard, too aggressive. Something about the Yaris, the GR Yaris, is that it's an amazing car. It's got a ton of grip and it's very fast. Being all-wheel drive, it surprises people, it surprises me how fast I can take it out of the corner in the wet, in the snow, and even in the dry. And the last thing you need is to be overconfident with a cage and then have a drivetrain that gets you overconfident and builds you up entirely too much speed as you come into the corner. It's an absolute recipe for disaster. I've always said that all-wheel drive just lets you go through the guardrail faster in the braking zone when you're driving too fast in the wet. That's literally what it does. It gives you the confidence to get out of the corner and get in trouble entirely too fast. So we're balancing making this an exciting car in terms of rental and give you that track feeling, but also not giving an inexperienced driver too much confidence to where he's going to ultimately crash it. So I want to show you a couple things about this car that really disappoint me, something that really is too bad that Toyota did this. It's going to probably cause us to change our plans with even possibly putting a cage in it. And we're going to try one solution. I'm going to show you what our hopeful solution is. But being that we're in Germany, being that we're a rental car company, being that we have to be as responsible as possible, we need to make sure it's all legal. So George, our handy cameraman slash mechanic, is going to walk over to the passenger side. I'm going to go to the driver's side. We're going to check it out. So as you can see here, we've got the driver's seat in. Well, for one, look how high I am. I'm going to recline this back a little bit. Hope I don't fall back because there's no bolts in it. But you can see this is my driving position, right about on track. Right about here is my driving position now. And if I set the seat all the way down, this is the lowest the seat goes, you can see that I don't really have room for my helmet to go on. So I don't even have enough room for my helmet. If I want to put my helmet on, I need to lean back a little bit. And then I could probably get my helmet in, but I'm leaned back further than I want to be. At that point, of course, I have the ability to slide my seat forward and compensate, and I could drive like this. But the issue here is that we want to actually put a roll bar in right here. If we put a roll bar in right there, my helmet is actually going to be resting on this bar for the roll bar. A lot of people say, oh, we'll just put padding on the bar, etc. I've seen crashes where helmets actually go through and roll bars go through the helmet and actually crack the helmet. And that's a huge problem. That's something that scares me. It scares me when I'm thinking that people are going to be getting in it. And it also scares me because these cars still have to be road legal. That means that I have to expect that somebody from Apex, that a customer, somebody's going to drive this car and not have a helmet on. If I drove this car and didn't have a helmet on and I had an accident, I can guarantee you that my head would be split open. Now, why does this disappoint me from a Toyota perspective? This right here. These are the actual mounts for the seats, okay? You notice that we have a crossbar here, and the actual mount for the seat is, in this case, 9 centimeters higher than the floor. I'm going to try to peel this back so you can see what's going on here. And you can see these massive mounts that Toyota has put in, okay? Now, mind you, I'm going to say that this is definitely better than bump steer that the Supra comes with, but it's borderline. It's honestly borderline, because I told you that I didn't like driving the Supra because of the bump steer. This actually makes it dangerous to drive because I end up being so high. If this car had a rollover, I can guarantee you, even without a helmet, my head is going up against the roofliner. Now, what we're going to try and do, we're not going to make any modifications, but our goal is to see if we can cut these towers off and actually relocate the mounting of the seats into this cross member here, which is obviously very solid because these are mounted to it. And we're going to see if we can get approval to lower these. If we can lower these mounts and actually get the seat mounts into this cross member, then we might have something to work with. we were laughing and trying to find solutions, and we said, you know what? Why don't we go see what the WRC car does? Why don't we see how Toyota handles it themselves when they're racing this car? And we found it. They don't even use these mounts. They fill this with a crossbar and mount other things to it, like maybe fire extinguishers and crap like that. And they actually mount their race seats down here to these lower points so that the seat isn't too high. And even then, when they're doing it, they lower the seat down. They have their roll bar going through here, and the helmets are extremely close to the cage. So I said earlier that we wanted a club sport. Often you guys know that a club sport only means a half bar, but there's options when you're building these cages to go full cage, half cage, etc. Now, if we decide, okay, well, we're just going to go with a half cage. We want to go with a half cage. We then fall into German TÜV problems. The problem with TÜV is what the organization that ensures that every car is road legal. They will not allow a half cage with the airbags taken out of your seats. So that means we can't go to a Recaro race seat like we wanted to. We would have to go to a seat that actually has airbags in it. This takes away, again, more of the features that we want out of this car. So I'm really at kind of a crossroads. If we cut this down and we lower it, then we could put the full cage in. If we leave it at this height, I'm almost at the point of saying that I will just ditch the idea of putting a cage in this car, put it back to stock, and have it be a nice road car that we can rent on the track, because believe me, it's not going to take away from the capabilities. It's going to take more away from the look of it. George, why don't you come over to this side, and I'm going to show you guys one more thing that's absolutely ridiculous. We had the thought that we would go ahead and use the stock seats maybe. This was when we weren't here, we weren't looking at the car. We said, well, you know, the stock seats have the holes that go through for the harnesses. We thought this could be really neat to go ahead and actually use the stock seats. George, why don't you show them the stock seats and the nice harness holes that you have. When you look at the front of the seat, it actually looks like it should be, but lo and behold, that's just optical. There's no actual pass-throughs for the harnesses to come through. This is just race car look. All show and no go, right, George? Mm-hmm. Come onto the back and we can take a look at the back. You can see that they've already fitted the actual roll bar. Let me grab the light and I'll bring it back there for you. They've already fitted the actual roll bar, the initial hoop, if you would, which I think turned out pretty nice. It's pretty cool. They've got the one bar that would come to the back. This is all just fitting, obviously. So you can see that they're well underway with this project. However, they're just not quite able to finish it, and a lot of it's actually going to hang on me, what we decide that we want to do. Do you want some backlighting on me or underlighting?
We're good.
A lot of it's going to depend on what we decide that we want to do, what I say I want in terms of the risk and really how far do we want to take this project to make it right. Do we really want to cut out seat mounts? What do you guys think? Do you think that those 9-centimeter pillars are absolutely ridiculous? I find it unbelievable that a car company would build something with such high pillars in it. And then, if I'm honest with you, I think what's going to happen is that Toyota is going to change this. I think that in future years of the GR Yaris that you're going to see that the seats are lower. Every journalist, every car enthusiast that's done a test drive in it, everybody has said the seat's too high, unless of course they're about this tall. Most of the people in Western Europe, in the Western world, are taller like me, or at least George's height. Obviously, maybe where this car came from, it's not the case, but I think if you're trying to sell to a world market, you need to think about this. Anyways, guys, tell me what you think. What should we do? Should we just ditch it, go back to Club Sport, or should we basically cut the entire car apart, take it all the way, but add the risk that somebody might bin it because they think that they're in a race car? Anyways, looking forward to your thoughts. Appreciate your time. Have a good one.